Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Now welcome to patch note 14.16. It's uploaded 8 minutes ago. Obviously I'll get it out as today's second video. We'll try to go with, as much detail as possible. I will say I'm very tired, so you'll obviously I record this and upload it the same day, but the commentaries that I recorded earlier today, you'll be getting a really good Renekton one in a few days. Obviously that'll be out in a few days, so the explanation of why I'm tired, just very quickly. Maya, my wonderful puppy dog, was overheating a little bit in her crate last night, so I decided to sleep on the sofa with her, and because it was a lot cooler downstairs, and she proceeded to be excited that I was sleeping on the sofa with her. So every half an hour she wanted to let me know that she was excited by licking me on the face when I did fall asleep, roughly every half an hour. So I think in total I had about 3 hours of sleep last night. I managed to do a 4-hour stream today, which honestly I was quite surprised I got to 4 hours. I thought maybe I would have been doing like a 2-hour stream. But yeah, we're gonna do obviously the patch notes and try our best to do it as good as possible. So it's worth knowing that the split 2 will be ending the weekend of the 24th, or the weekend maybe, or whenever it is. The 24th, 25th of September, so like the midnight becoming the 25th. So we've still got, a month and a half to get there. It's worth knowing, obviously, my Filter Master series, I was very aware, technically we did a unranked to master in one split on the Mundo's Nurse account. That was an unranked account on the start of the season, and we got to master by literally the last day of the split. Because we're playing on actively 3 accounts at once, I knew I wasn't going to get to master in one split. So that series will just continue. Obviously, we'll have a slight hit in the rank when it comes to demotion, but we'll probably be well into diamond by the time this split ends. So it shouldn't be that bad. But anyway, let's get into it. So, a lot of buffs. And there's one champion that I will be honest that I'm just like petrified to see getting any type of buff. And that is obviously Katarina, and I will just say I'm already preemptively banning her again. It's not fun to play against that champion. So yeah, I'm just going to permaban Katarina from now on. Again, she is still statistically a very good ban, even if you don't dislike the champion as much as I do. She statistically is a great ban. She's the most one-trick champion in League, so banning out one tricks is effective, especially in my rating bracket. So it's an effective ban, especially that she gets some changes now too. So the only nerf to a champion this patch of specific champion is Corki. Buffs though to Azir, Katarina, Orianna, Skarner, Sylas, Syndra, Vi, and Wukong. We're getting adjustments to Lucian, Kiana, and Senna. We're getting system changes: a Black Cleaver, Blade the Ruin King, Death Timers, and Doran's Blade. And then we have got the new T1 skins. So obviously, whichever team wins Worlds, they get skins. And this time it is Jace, Bard, Jinx, Orianna, Lee Sin, and the Prestige one is Jace. So there is that. So, also, Swarm will be leaving us August 19th. Let me know what you guys thought of Swarm. I played a decent amount of it, but I kind of stopped playing it recently. Sorry if you hear Maya barking. They are also just letting everyone know split 2 will be ending the 24th at like 1 second before midnight, and then the season split 3 start, I guess, will be starting midnight or noon. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's obviously your localization to what server you're on. So the first change is matchmaking improvements. So recently we've seen a lot of player feedback around issues surrounding the balance of blue side, red side, and off-roll balance. Yeah. This patch we're making changes to better match off rolls, including matching secondaries if they were off rolls. We also made some improvements to make team versus team balance feel more fair and not repeatedly play the same players on the same teams, especially the top ladder. I'll say even like in my higher rating brackets of like Master, Diamond 1, you get a lot of the same players. But the thing is, and it's something that is actually really hard for Riot to stop, the higher rating you go, especially if you play at weird times. So like, in the middle of the day of a weekday, that's probably the least common time that people play solo queue. So someone like me that streams, on let's say a Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, if I'm in Master at that time and I'm in the top 1% of the game and I'm playing at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, there is not many players that are going to be in the same ranking bracket as me playing at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. let alone, let's say, if you're challenger doing that, there's way less players doing that. So it kind of makes sense that you get a lot of the same players. So the things that they're actually doing, though, is increased off-role parity. So both teams should now have a more similar amount of players auto-filled and placed into their secondary roles. Now, it is worth mentioning that there's only one major role that really makes that difference: jungle. So it doesn't really matter if a mid laner is auto-filled onto support, or it doesn't really matter if a top laner is on mid. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. What matters is if that mid laner is auto-filled into jungle, or that support player is auto-filled into jungle. AD carry player is auto-filled into jungle. When one team has a jungle main and one team has got an auto-filled jungle, the game's basically over before the game even begins. That's what I would like to see. I'd also like to see a better parity when it comes to duo queues, because that seems to have gone out of control again, that a lot of the time enemy team's got 2 duos, you don't have any, or the enemy team's got 1 duo, you don't have any. That's gone a little bit, awry, and that was supposed to be parity, and it isn't anymore, but apparently. But then also reduce how large LP gaps could be between players in a game. I actually did see a YouTube short about this earlier. He's kind of a guy that seems to be blowing up on YouTube shorts. It kind of seems like every 6 months, a League YouTuber just manages to get that click right on shorts. Hopefully I'll be the next one. And they kind of blow up from it. AZAP, I guess, was the one before this. Pinkward was the one before that. It's kind of a thing. I can't even remember what this guy's name is, but he's a top lane Aatrox Grandmaster player, I think, here in EU. And he recently was there was a short of his that I saw earlier today, and he was like, oh, I've got Angerin on his ult account. It is my jungler, 1500 LP challenger. What's the enemy jungle? In Master, but 700 LP. Still half the LP of what Angerin's ult account is. 700 LP. That's ridiculous. But they were in the same game against each other. So I'm guessing that's what that is kind of trying to do. And then also decrease red versus blue side imbalance, especially in higher MMRs. I don't know how... Well, I think obviously historically one side is always supposed to have better players because it technically has a natural disadvantage. Like, the actual side has a disadvantage, so it gets higher rated players. But I don't know how that works, to be honest. But yeah. Next one is boosting and ranked manipulation penalties. Well, maybe don't introduce duo queue to Master again if you cared about boosting. But anyway, so as of this patch, we'll be increasing the penalties for first-time offenders participating in malicious forms of ranked manipulation, such as account boosting, win trading, and deranking. Previously, our warning ban for first-time offenders was short enough so players at high ranks could return before rank decay kicked in. Now the penalty will last a full 30 days, ensuring that these accounts will decay. The penalty for a second offense is still a permanent ban. We take this behavior very seriously. Just to explain the three, so boosting, win trading, deranking, just to kind of go over those. So boosting is obviously when a player, and there's 2 forms of boosting in modern day, really. Either a high rating player is playing on not their account. So let's say someone's in gold and they're, got small PP syndrome and they can't climb themselves. So they pay someone to play on their account and rank them up. That's like the very illegal way of boosting, and that's quite an obvious way that will get your account banned. The hilarious legal way of boosting, and obviously Riot hasn't mentioned if they're kind of closing that loophole, is you can have a gold player who's feeling insecure and they hire a master player to duo queue with them on a fresh account, and that, honestly, that master player could easily duo queue that gold player to diamond easily. That's technically legal. There's nothing illegal about that. It's one person playing on a fresh account, and if they're not stupid, they wouldn't buy one. So if they leveled one or whatever, they duo queue with someone in gold, they're getting paid to do it. That's really hard for Riot to prove. That's technically illegal, and I don't see how this would even stop that. Win trading, again, a thing that you probably hear a lot about, but in reality is not that big and is in a very small percentage of the game. So if ever you're anywhere below Grandmaster, and I even say like that legit, if you're even in Master, win trading doesn't really exist. So what win trading is the premise that when you can, in essence, secure 90% of the time that you'll be in the same game as an individual, you can basically fix the games. So whether that be let's say you're both in Grandmaster, and this is how you have to be in very high rating, because you both have to queue at the same time, and you both have to guarantee quite often that you'll be in the same game. And obviously when you're on the same team, you both try hard, you try to win, or you dodge and then you try again. But basically what the idea of win trading is let's say in Grandmaster or Challenger, one player, and it's been pre-agreed, will throw games when they're on the enemy team of their friend or whoever's paying them. And they try to make it not obvious. So that's where soft inting comes in, that they'll throw games by playing bad. Oh God, I'm just having an off day. And it just so happens to be whenever that person is on the enemy team every single time. And I so happen to give him 100 or 200 LP in one day. That's basically what win trading is. And again, it only can work when you can guarantee 90% of the time being in the same game. And that only does happen in the absolute upper echelons of rank. So whenever you're in a platinum game and people's like, oh, report that guy, he's clearly win trading, it's not a thing. That's not true. And then deranking. So deranking has become very popular with kind of the more scumbag YouTubing kind of community, and it's always existed. The kind of scumbag side of League YouTubers have always existed. They're the ones that are sponsored by boosting and Smurf websites. They're the ones that do very weird behavior. You probably all can name probably a few. Deranking is basically when you have a fresh account and people purposely bomb 20 or 30 ranked games to get to the lowest pinnacle of rank, like the lowest point that they could get to in rank. So low, 0 LP, Iron 4. And then instead of doing like I do, like a fresh account on ranked 2 series, they do an Iron 4 to series. But obviously because of how bad the account rank has gone, it hasn't been detected for Smurf Q or any of that nature, or higher MMR, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. So they basically just absolutely stomp. Again, these type of YouTubers also, sometimes they don't even say it's an Iron series, so they basically pretend that they're in high rating on an account in Iron 4, and they're stomping everybody, and they're kind of trying to make out that it's in high rating. That's also very common. So that's what deranking is. So we'll see what this means. To be honest, like, I kind of wish, as dumb as it sounds, Riot doesn't say anything like in these type of things, because when you kind of say this, you're giving them warning. And I think when you're giving people warning that do actively these things all the time, that's arguably not the smartest thing, because they can now try to find ways around it. But whatever. Career stats profile. Ooh. We introduced the career stats page because there were not a lot of players looking to dive into the nitty-gritty of their match history. But that was a few years ago. And then we have lots of third-party partners that have created a ton of helpful and detailed tools that do a fantastic job of capturing the same information, but more in depth with or with improvement tips. We're still invested in finding ways to help players improve in League, with our bot AI update. But less than 3% of players use the career stats page. We're making the decision to remove it from the client. If you're looking for other ways, you can use these. So Mobalytics, League of Graphs, op.gg, u.gg, Tracker Network, or blitz.gg. I'm kind of fine with that. Again, when was the last time that you went on the League client and looked at the stats page of your own account? You don't. You use one of those websites. They give way more information. They give way more breakdowns. Whenever I've done one of those profile breakdown videos, I don't use the client. I use one of those websites. Literally one of those 4. So I'm fine with that. And also the client is suffering as much as it is with how loaded everything is on it. So taking a thing off it, I don't think is going to hurt the client. It should help the client. So there's that. Right, let's get into the champion changes. Azir, base health regeneration and armor increased. Probably armor increased because of the AD carries still being in mid lane. And also health regeneration for getting poked down in the early game of mid. So no damage buffs, which again, he doesn't need. He needs laning strength. And laning strength isn't just doing more damage, it's surviving the lane phase. So I'm completely fine with that, and that will help him definitely a good amount. Corki, Q mana cost and cooldown increased. So it doesn't take a major time of ground control to realize Corki's current flying a bit too high. So they're flattening his mana cost to 80, which is used to be what his rank 5 cost does. Obviously, mana costs increase when the ability becomes more powerful. So that is definitely going to hurt a lot in the early game, as well as a second nerf. That's going to hurt. That could, and this is the thing, again, this is just speculation, it could make people start maxing E again, because there was a whole patch or two that people were maxing E on Corki. Maybe people do that again. We'll see. Oh, the bane of my existence, Katarina. Yeah. As it stands today, the majority of Katarina players are building AP and opting to max Q first, despite E, max, and AD on hit builds being statistically better. I will say, all the Katarinas that I've faced in the last month, none of them have built AP. They've all built AD. So I don't know. Hello, Miss Maya. So there's that. So in order to better match Katarina on how players want to build her, we'll be shifting some of her power from Emax and on-hit builds onto Q max builds. So technically this might not be a buff. This might be a, hey, you guys should build AP more than anything. I'm still going to ban this champion every single game. I just hate this champion with a passion. And again, it's still, whether I hate the champion or not, it still is an effective statistical ban because of how popular she is when it comes to one-tricking. And Riot themselves, and again, this is from Riot's own mouth, and it's probably something they should never have said, just reminding everybody, why does Katarina get an AD build and an AP build? And it's just a constant, like, what the hell did you build on this champion? And she gets constant strength. Riot basically said it themselves. So Riot, I think Freak was the one that kind of mentioned it potentially. So they said, Katarina one-tricks are the most dedicated one-tricks in the game, that they basically are the biggest example of one-tricks that do not play anything else. So where if you're a Aatrox one-trick, my bad, I pressed spacebar. If you're an Aatrox one-trick, yeah, you might have Riven as your backup or Garen as your backup. If you're a Katarina one-trick, majority of them don't have any backup. They just play Katarina. So for some reason that gave Riot the ammunition to kind of go, because they only play one thing, we need to give them more options. I don't see why that's a thing, but that's what Riot's reasoning was. So damage on base ability of her Q is going up, and that's obviously to try and be like, hey, max this, and also a 10% AP ratio increase. Oh god. The the damage of it is going down, but notice that again, this is a 40 damage increase. This is only a 20 damage decrease. So she's still overall gaining. And then it's staying a 40% AD ratio, and staying at 25. So yeah, so just straight away, it's a buff in terms of where the damage is being taken away from. She's gaining more in the buff, and also a big 10% AP ratio increase. That is definitely a buff. And then what the only big nerf you could say is the on-hit effectiveness. Yeah, it's going slightly down for the ultimate when it comes to on-hit items. So Blade the Ruin King, Kraken Slayer, Wit's End would be doing slightly less. But yeah, that's not... yeah, I mean, it's not going to affect me because I'm going to ban her every single game. So there's that. Lucian, passive damage increase, Q damage decrease. So it's been a few years and Lucian's back to terrorizing the mid lane. It's not just because it's a Lucian thing. It's just it's a combination on AD carries being too strong, and a lot of the time the answer to AD carries mid lane has always been two types of champions: assassins and mages. Both of those type of champions are designed to kill AD carries just by the, you know, think of like rock paper scissors, that everything is supposed to beat something else. AD carries are usually effective at killing tanks with like tank killing builds. They're not bad at killing other champions, but they normally need protection, where an assassin or a mage is supposed to just annihilate an AD carry if they're caught out. And obviously mages, and especially burst mages, suck nowadays, so they don't stand a chance against AD carries in mid. And assassins, I'd say like they're okay, but they're definitely not at the pinnacle of strength like they were a couple of years ago. So his passive is getting buffed. Eh? Well, hold up. So again, his passive, obviously from memory, it's when he hits an ability, the target lights up, and it's a bonus, a bit of damage that is going on the target. So yeah, he's doing more damage with that, 5% damage ratio of his total AD increase. But then the actual nerf is his Q, which is just a flat damage. This is going to be this is going to be a nerf to early game slightly, but this is actually going to be a buff to late game Lucian. It's going to be slightly better scaling, and that's something that probably Lucian needs as an AD carry. So maybe, again, that is the thing, is make him a little bit less dominant in bullying people in mid lane, but give him more scaling a little bit for AD carry bot. I still think there'll be some people taking in mid lane, but we'll see. Orianna. Q damage increased. It's a 5% AP ratio increase, which is better than nothing. But fundamentally, I think a lot of champs like Orianna. It's not their own ratios that's the problem. It's the items that they have to build are the problem. If you're trying to build Orianna in a burst way, Luden still sucks. Like, they've not touched the item, and it's awful. Storm Surge is still really bad. So if you're wanting to build burst, it's just not effective. they should tackle that, not the champions, is what I would say. Kiana, a champ that the very nature of this champion, just with how her kit is either she's very good or very bad. There's not really in between because her kit is very overloaded. And again, what's kind of weird is, I've said this for a long time, and then the League Jesus that everyone loves, AZAP, he had a short that went viral, and he even said Kiana is really easy to play. Like, Kiana players love to say how hard she is, but the vast majority of Kianas only do one combo. It's not like they do different combos every single fight. They all just do one combo. You know, it's the ice combo or the stealth combo. I guess those are the two. It's the same combo that you just do in the same order, and you stun lock something like a mage that can't move, and because of how high her damage is, they just die. So, like, I've never considered her a high-skilled champ at all, but I know some people do. So base armor's going up. Again, hilariously, probably one to do better in the jungle, which is what they're looking to potentially buffer into, but also doing better against AD carries in mid. So the damage of it, woo, that's a big buff. So base AD is going up early game, 10, but then going down late game, 10. But she's getting a 15% bonus AD increase. That's a good for scaling. And then she's also getting 25% bonus damage to monsters on it too, from 50 to 75. So that's going to be much better for her jungling, because obviously her Q is her main AoE ability in the jungle. Her W, bonus on hit damage, is going down. Yes, so that's going down, the bonus on hit damage. But obviously she's getting a big buff here, so I guess that's why, because she wants less on hit stuff and just more raw AD. And then the R, a supreme display of talent. When you look at the ultimate, that's probably not what I would call it, but anyway, the ultimate is going down. I like that. Again, some people might be like, oh, that's a nerf. Yeah, that's good. This ultimate is stupid. You just throw it at a wall and does stupid amount of damage and CCs everybody. It's insane. So it's going down, where it did 170% bonus AD. It's now 150% bonus AD. So a 20% nerf to it. But it is also doing damage to monsters, but a little bit less too. So that's, again, that's an adjustment. It's technically in her average trading pattern of using 2 Qs, it's going to be better. And that's probably why the other nerfs seem quite severe. But in majority of trades that, you know, before she goes for an absolute all-in, she may go for 6 Qs, you know, 3 times going for a little combo, and then on the 4th time she goes for an all-in. That's going to be better overall because of how much stronger the Q is going to be with the 15% bonus AD ratio. So that'll be interesting. Kiana may turn into a ban champion this patch if she picks up steam. All abilities except D adjusted. Again, I've always said from the beginning of when this champion came out, she's going to be in a constant state. And, you know, it's not every patch, but every 4 months, this champion will be in patch notes. Because fundamentally, it's near impossible to have a champion that can both be balanced as a AD carry and a support. It's crazy. Like, you've got the AD carry as the peak of carrying roles of League, and then support that is supposed to support that peak carry. How can one champion do both of those roles balanced and well? It's very difficult to make that balanced. So her attack speed growth is going down, so that's worse for her carry potential. Her crit strike per 20 stacks is going down, so again, worse for her carry potential. So they might be pushing her back into support here, like actual support. Her healing. Ooh, they're moving her away from lethality. Wow, yeah. Interesting. So her healing is going up in base, but it used to have a 30% bonus AD ratio, a 40% AP ratio, and a 160% lethality ratio. The lethality ratio is gone. So it's a 10% bonus AD increase from 30 to 40. It's a double the AP ratio, but you don't really build AP on this champion, but you'll get some passively, obviously. But the lethality ratio is gone, so I guess no more lethality center, because that was literally the main reason you did it, because it gave you damage, but also gave you incredible healing. So I guess you'd just be building, and with the attack speed growth going down, they probably did that because she might now have to buy attack speed items, which will make up for the fact that her attack speed growth has gone down by half. Interesting. Her root ratio is going up by 0.25 something. Her R, again, more AP. Are they actually wanting her to build AP? What the heck? On top of that, we're buffing several AP ratios to make AP, or at least a splash of Ardent Sensor, a viable alternate build, without pushing her into buying mage or enchanter items full time. Oh, that's so weird. They're pushing into being more of an actual support, less of an AD carry. I mean, as I said, how can a champion be both balanced to be an AD carry and a support? Well, they can't, so they might be pushing her away from being an AD carry and just turning her into an enchanter support. Wow, interesting. Okay. Skarner, this poor champion. So he got his rework and was crazy OP. And again, he's not a hard champion to play. And they had to nerf him to the ground because he was so problematic. But now he's really bad. So his base health is going up by 20. His base attack damage is going up by 3. So it helps his early game. And his base AD ratio is going up by 15% on his Q. I guess they don't want to be crazy with these buffs. And, you know, what I would say, it depends what you define Skarner as. I guess he's technically a Juggernaut. So he's supposed to do some damage, but be mainly tanky. I always get scared when a tanky champion gets damage ratio increased. Because, again, tanky champs, in my mind, shouldn't really do damage. It's like Ord. That champion does way too much damage without buying a single damage item. I'm kind of okay with Skarner doing some damage because they might throw 1 or 2 damage items in. They might buy a Titanic Hydra or something. Ornn doesn't do that, and he does way more damage than you'd expect. Silas, base health increased, passive damage increased, and W damage increased. Holy Jesus, he's getting increases everywhere. Are you sure? Wow. So now that players are building more health on him with items like Rod of Ages, Hextech, Orchid Belt, and Cosmic Drive, yeah, because Burst sucks. So you have to build more scaling health Silas and sustain Silas than you do Burst Silas. What are they doing? So base health is going up, so that'll help early game. Damage to primary target of his passive is going up by 5% AP ratio. And then his W, which obviously is what you max, and that's what a lot of your damage is. It's just a very small base damage increase. So yeah, these are buffs, but they're not a lot. Okay. Syndra. So again, hilariously, one of the better mages in mid lane right now, and she's getting a buff. So her damage per orb is going up on every orb by 10. I will say, I think it was today or was it yesterday? The days are blending in at the moment. I had a Syndra, I think it was yesterday. It might be a video, I don't know. She just kept ulting without doing bonus orbs. So again, a good Syndra will try to get a few Qs down. She even may hold a W just before she's about to ult, and then W, that's an extra orb that she'll have as an extra. And then you'll ult, and you'll, like, you know, you'll have 3 or 4 extra balls go off in an ult, and you look how much extra she gets of damage per orb. It's a lot. Yeah, I had a Syndra that was just ulting without doing any Qs. It was really weird. But yeah, so a little bit extra damage from each orb. So that will only really benefit good Syndra players, I guess, that are actually using that mechanic. Vi, Q damage increased. So I'm happy about that. I played the Vi game, obviously, a week or two ago in Full 2, and we won the game. But yeah, Vi felt pretty weak. She didn't feel that good. But the minimum damage is going up only by 5, so that's if you just tap the Q. Like if you minimal charging it and you're just kind of in a duel with somebody, it will be minimal doing that. But in maximum, if you're holding it for the full duration, it's going up by 10 damage per rank. So again, not a lot of buffs. And they're probably, again, scared of her being in pro jail. So there's that. Wukong. I will say, the more that they mention pro jail is becoming a problem, and you do hear it a lot from Riot devs nowadays, there is the argument that maybe they should have a separate patch for pro play and balance the game differently for pro play. Riot has always been against that, always. But maybe they should look to do it. You know, Riot has been wrong about things in the past. So, Wukong, passive bonus armor increased, and E bonus attack speed increased. Bonus armor is going up. It was 5 to 9 based on level. It's now 6 to 10 based on level, so only 1, but that's fine. And then the attack speed of his E is going up 5% each rank. So not crazy buffs. To be honest, I don't think Wukong is that weak. I think he's just more of a specialist champion. And the big thing about Wukong, it's all about your timings of knowing when you can go in of your power spikes. So, and I would say hilariously, Wukong, let's say even for top lane, he's more a champion that needs to know knowledge of matchup than the average top lane champion. So he need, like, if you're playing a Wukong, you're like, right, I'm against a Renekton. When can I beat a Renekton? Okay, I've got to wait till level 7, for example. A good Wukong will know when they can beat specific matchups. And I think he's just the type of champion that needs to know that information more than anything else. I don't think he's that weak. But yeah. Item change, Black Cleaver. We're softening some Black Cleaver stacking rules, which will make the item much stronger for some champions who used to be able to apply 2 stacks at once. So like Renekton, I guess. Black Cleaver no longer prevents champions from applying 2 stacks of basic attacks and abilities that apply after on-hit effects, e.g. Senna. I think Renekton's W will also count to that, potentially. So that's a good buff for certain champs. Blade of the Rune King, very popular item right now. So it's getting a 5 attack damage nerf. It's getting a 5% attack speed nerf. And then the on-hit damage, it was 9% melee, 6% range. It's 10% melee, so it's being buffed for melee, staying at 6% range. So they're probably just thinking it's too strong for AD carries more than anybody else, which I would say I probably agree with, but I still think it's probably overly strong on stuff like Yasuo as well, but sure. Doran's Blade. So this, hilariously, is supposedly the nerf that they're doing to AD carries in mid, by the way. Is nerfing Doran's Blade. So they're taking 20 health off it, which is a decent amount. 20 health from the item and 0.5% of a lifesteal. It's not a lot, but in an effort to chip away AD carry lane dominance in the early game, we're tapping down some of the early strength of Doran's Blade. Solo lane AD carries spend a large amount of time attacking minions relative to their bot lane brethren, and more consistently lane against those who threaten to burst them. So by reining in the durability of this item, we aim to make AD carries weaker in early aggression. Yeah, the problem with this, so let's say I've laned against many AD carries now in the last month or so, an Ezreal, a Lucian, whatever. Majority of the time when they get their absolute lane dominance is like from level 1 to 4. A mage ain't, if I want to play a mage, like one of my normal mages, a normal mage ain't killing an AD carry from level 1 to 4 anyway. Like they have no strength at that level of the game. So it's not going to do a lot for mages in mid lane, but assassins may find an opportunity to kill now, you know, with it being a bit squishier and stuff. Again, Riot obviously is trying without kind of saying it out loud. They don't want AD carries in mid. Like there are AD carries that are designed for mid, like Action, but they don't want an Ezreal mid. It basically creates mess, and that's a problem. Death timers and death guards. Okay, so this hilariously, and we were speaking about this on stream yesterday. There's one player that is obviously a very controversial player, and I would say he seems like a wonderful person. And I'll say that if I've ever met him at an event, I'm sure he's actually a wonderful person. The BAUSEN'S. So the problem with the BAUSEN'S is he developed a strategy that covered off his weakness of being a bad laner. Overall, he himself has admitted he's not a very good laner, but he basically kind of saw a loophole in I can die a lot, and it obviously it works on multiple champions, but it works the best on Sion. That I can basically play a scaling champion, Sion, die to my opponent because of zombie form with Sion and how low death timers were. I can get all the farm. My opponent can kill me, but I can get all the farm. I can then either kill my opponent in zombie form or nearly kill them. And if I don't nearly kill them, they have to go back. And because of my zombie form counts to the death timer, with how low death timers are, I can get back to lane before them. And then I can get more farm than they can. And I can get plates more than they can. They never can get plates because every time they kill me, they're going to get low to my zombie form, so they have to go back again. It's kind of a rinse and repeat. So he can be 0-10 and he can be thousands of gold ahead because one, he gets diminishing returns on how much he's worth. His lane opponent builds up a bounty and he's still scaling in terms of a crazy amount of gold income that then eventually, most of the time, he'll cash in the bounty that the opponent is building on farming him for free. It's a crazy strategy, and like it does think, you know, it does take a certain mind to think of it, but it's not healthy, and that's the problem. Is majority of people that do it, and you know, not everyone is the Baus. The Baus is a very good player, and that's the first thing I will say. He's a very good player, and not everybody can play the way that he can. He plays the strategy very well, hilariously, the strategy well. But he has obviously created an army. He's one of the most popularly content creators. His YouTube videos get over 500,000 views pretty much every upload. He's created an army of thousands of players that saw what he does. It looks stupidly easy, and they try to replicate it. And it's created chaos in solo queue for the past year or two. Obviously, it got very famous when he went over to Korea, and they had no idea how to deal with it because Korean solo queue is very famous to having no strategy whatsoever. It's all about kills. So when he came and let himself get killed because it was part of his strategy, they had no idea how to deal with it. It was actually, I watched quite a lot of that content because it was actually quite hilarious to see they didn't know what to do. And that's kind of the issue. It's basically made a problem that players are intentionally feeding, and that's the word that you have to use, because it actually benefits them. That's a problem. You know, just for game integrity, that's a problem. So what they're doing in order to try and stop it, to want of a better word, is they're nerfing death timers. So from level 1 and level 2, it was a 6-second death timer. It's now 10 seconds. Level 3, it's now, and 4, 8 seconds is now 12. So it's basically 4 seconds on average of every single death, apart from, you know, level 8 and level 9 is slightly different. And that does fundamentally really mess up with the tempo if you're trying to do BAUSEN'S Law, is what everyone calls it. Because you time your death, you get the wave, you force your opponent to go back, and you're coming into wave at the perfect timing to get the next wave, and you're not really losing anything. Well, these extra 4 seconds, it will make a difference. Especially that if, let's say, you die 10 times in the first 15 minutes, that's adding up. You know, it's adding up on how much you're actively going to be missing, and you're not gaining as much value from your death as you used to before. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to kind of kill it. They're also decaying movement speed. So decaying movement speed, you get 66.67 decaying movement speed over 5 seconds. Now 67.67 decaying movement speed over 8 seconds. And the range of the fountain for when death guards start ticking down has been made more generous. So that's technically a buff, maybe, when you get decay, like death guard running back to lane, maybe. And that's it. So yeah, BAUSEN'S Law might be dead. We'll see, obviously, what he does. The thing is, his when he's actually playing serious, his sign is very good. But I actually think his best champion, hilariously, is probably Gragas. When he's on point with Gragas, it's incredible. So he might just start spamming Gragas, to be honest. Arena changes. Swarm, obviously that's leaving. Again, Swarm was good. I do hope they do something like that again. ARAM changes, Mythic shop rotation. We're getting Prestige Ink Shadow Yasuo, KDO all out. Again, I'm still waiting for the Shaco skin. I think that will be coming in the next couple of shop rotations. I think every, is it 2 patches? Wait, 14.20. So this one is, oh god, it's every 4 patches you get the same prestige store. Okay, so hopefully next one is the Shaco one, but that won't be for 2 months. Jesus. But there we go. That is going to be it. I think that's the patch for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed the explanations. Bug fixes as always. What's that one? Again, by popular demand from players, champion mastery points have been added back to the loading screen. You can now have your opponents quake in their boots. I'm going to be honest. Mastery points don't make anybody quake in their boots. If you're in gold and you see someone with 4 million mastery points, that person is not good with that champion. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed nonetheless. If you did, do throw a like on it. Let me know what you think of the patch. Also, let me know what you think of Swarm. But I'll get this video up literally in a few hours. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace. Call down